Blessings in the peeps. Back again, another GT7. Haven't posted in a while, been on a break, but today on time trial we will be attempting a new time trial that came up, which is the Alsace. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The Alsace test course in reverse. So the time to beat is 48, well, goal time. I did this before in the Supra, in my Supra, and I did a time of 51.4. Decided to give another go at it using, well, the Mazda 3 is the car that everybody uses. I think the top time in the world is 47 or something like that, but today I won't be using the Mazda 3 only because I want to know if you could actually use a different car and get a better time. So started with the Supra using the GTR, and here we go. So my current record is 51.4, and I'm going to try and see if I can at least get a gold by attempting a 48. So let's go. So track just started, or the time just started, and there are three corners. So this is one corner. Challenging to go around. By challenging meaning you have to be a little bit precise. So you have to drop to 4, maintain throttle, not all the way but enough to keep you going around, and coming into this corner and this corner. So far in terms of difficulty, 1, 2, 3, those last two corners would be the most difficult and always give me the most problems, and you'll see as the race goes along. The second to last turn, not so tedious, just a hairpin, but usually I throughout the course of this did it a couple times wrong, and coming out of that hairpin, that second to last hairpin, the wrong way usually messes up my time. So I so happened to did a 51.4, no, 51.6, and did 2 bad laps, and going into lap 4 now. If you look to the right, you see the 51 for lap 1 and 2 red laps for lap 2 and 3. On to lap 4 now, trying to get these 2 corners right. Felt like I did it here, and on top of the speedometer you could see that I'm 3 seconds, well, 0.3 seconds ahead, 0.3 tenths of a second ahead of my last time. So doing well so far, and on this last hairpin drop down to 3rd actually worked. I usually drop down to 2nd there, but coming out I'm 3rd, close to the last ghost, and managed to beat the time. So for lap 4 did a 50.9.844. Skipped a few laps, and now we're in lap 8. We're trying again to go a bit faster. Felt like if I could do a 50, I can do a sub 50. So here I am keeping up with the ghost, which it's ahead of me because I set it to start 1 second ahead in the lap, and just made a blunder right there in that turn, which is usually where I mess up on that corner. So that lap was invalidated. And the funny thing is, even though it was invalidated, it was actually a pretty good lap because I was still ahead of the previous time. So I dropped to 2nd there to come out of this hairpin a bit faster. I was ahead of my time, and had this been a good lap, I would have gotten a 50.3. But went ahead again, tried to beat the time. Did a 50.9 for that previous lap on lap 9. So into lap 10, see if I can go ahead and at least achieve that 50.3 or higher. So coming out of that turn, and here we go. I usually just let it run there instead of brake, but sometimes I have to, depending on how I come out of the corner. It's the most inconsistent for me in terms of how I try to navigate that corner, but I'm not sure if it's because I'm using controller. Well, I can go ahead and say it is because I'm using controller, why that's very tedious to navigate there, but doing the best that I can with what I have. and so far managed to beat the time. So I did a 50 flattish right there. Felt like I could go a bit faster and went ahead and tried again. Did a 51 there. Here, didn't downshift here, and what ended up happening is that the car started sliding. I realized coming out of that turn, you have to at least brake before going in, otherwise the car slides and it messes up the whole momentum. Here I just try something, to be honest. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but here it's managing to work. I am 0.5 seconds ahead of the Ghost, or the time for the previous lap. Managed to drop down to 2 here, and on the apex hit gas flat out. Managed to stay ahead at the time by 0.2 seconds, and here I'm supposed to do my first sub 50, so I did a 49.8 here. Felt like I could go a bit faster, jumped ahead, and as you can see on the right hand side, I did a bunch of laps and got tired of it here. So I ended up quitting to take a breather, but my best time was 49.8. And if you look on the analytics that's coming up, I usually look at the optimal time, which is next to the max speed. Optimal time, it says that I am able to do a 49.3. So went ahead, took a break, and I'm gonna jump in again to kind of see if I can get a better time. So came back on it. I wanted to use a different car, which is the top car that everybody is using. So ended up starting. So as you can see, time here is 49. That's the best time that I did. I was going ahead and see if anybody else used a different car other than the Mazda 3. So I was looking through the rankings. Here, pretty much all the cars in the world, all the players in the world use the Mazda 3. Ended up finding, I think, one car, VQS Drifter, using the 65 SGR. I'm not sure what car that is, but I was back and forth between wanting to use the Mazda 3 to see if I could get a better time, and weighing here, and ended up just going ahead and using the GTR again to see if I could actually, because I felt like I could use a GTR and do a better time than my 49, or to even at least see if I could get less than a 48 or into a 48. So started the lap, and here we go. I tend to think that the first lap doesn't really mean anything because you don't have much momentum going in. I noticed that with a lot of these time attacks, that you tend to get your best time in the later laps, having built up enough momentum coming through to go through the finish line. So I usually just I usually have a don't care attitude as it relates to the first lap. Sometimes it works out in the sense that I end up doing a good time on the first lap, other times not, but I find that on average I tend to do a better lap on the second lap going up. So here managed to maneuver that corner pretty well, and going ahead into fourth, fifth, start braking here, dropping down to 3, let it coast a bit, but overshot it in the hairpin and it went way out. So this wasn't, I don't think this was a good time. Well, it didn't beat the previous record, but it was a good time. Anyway, skip on to a different session, and here I'm at first lap here again, only because I ended up quitting that previous run. I crashed in the second lap and I wanted to go through and not get any red times, any invalidated laps. Pretty difficult to do, but a lot of times because I get so frustrated, I ended up quitting and just starting over instead of going through. Or it depends on how badly I crash in the previous lap. I either just go ahead and restart. So pass through those two, I think those are chicanes, I'm not sure, but anyway, brake here, drop down to 2, coasting and flat out here on the end, and did a wow, so this is what I mean. So you usually think that the first lap don't mean anything, and here ended up doing a 49.7 40, sorry, a 14, yeah, 49.7 there. Skipped a few laps, so here we are now on lap 6. Did some 50s on lap 2, 3, 4, 5, and coming into the troublesome corners now. So here, go to the left and then try to dip right, staying as close as possible, and then sticking as close as possible here, trying to maintain the proper gas and the proper braking. I usually do a terrible job there, but sometimes it works out, and in this situation it does. I am 0.1 second ahead at the time. Let it coast a bit, drop down to 2, and then accelerate on the apex. Here I felt like I did a good time, not sure what it will be, and noticed that I did a 49.5. So skip ahead again, and if you look to the right, you notice that went ahead in from lap 11 and 12 invalidated, and on lap 13, which I did 49.9. Felt like I could go ahead again. Right here I am ahead of the Ghost by 0.3 and climbing. So going ahead here now in lap 14, stick close to the right, coming over to the left. Not sure I did a good job there, but I am still ahead of the Ghost, or ahead of my previous time at 0.2, and going through to the final turn, or the second to last turn, which is also a troublesome turn, but I managed to come out of that one suitably. And here we go to the finishing line, and boom, 49.3. Jump ahead to lap 17, and well, lap 18, that was the finishing lap, and ahead of the Ghost. No, battling with the Ghost here still at 0.1, but this is one of those laps that actually did a better time than the previous, I think. Stick closer to this one, to the right, and then coming over. Felt like I exited that properly, but here, oh well, it seems so, because I'm now at 0.1 ahead of the previous lap. And coming into the second to last turn, managed to drop down to 2, and coming off the hairpin flat out, and I am now 0.2 seconds ahead, and did a 49 flattish. Didn't think I could do a better time, so I ended up quitting. Did 19 laps on that one, and going to the analytics, which I usually do to see if I could do a better time, and usually I can, and here it's saying that my optimal time is 48.9. Not gonna do it again this time, but in the next one you'll definitely see it if I do it. But thank you guys for watching. This was a tough one. See you in the next one.